Out front now, Konstantin Yefremov, the former Russian senior lieutenant who is seeking asylum in the U.S. after serving in Ukraine. He is the most senior officer to speak openly about what he saw there. And Konstantin, I appreciate your time. You shared with us your military ID card, which I'm going to show viewers on the screen now. That shows you were made a lieutenant in 2017. And obviously you served in Ukraine. I know you still speak with Russian soldiers who are there, fighting now. What are they telling you about what's happening on the ground?
Well, I have to say that there are only very few people that I have been in contact with, because you can imagine just talking to me is already puts them at the risk of high danger. In fact, after this interview and just opening up, I can imagine tomorrow, or may just as well, even today, they will stop talking to me. And the last time I talked to them, there wasn't much they could share with me, just hunger, cold. Their circumstances, their conditions are very dire.
You talk about dire conditions, and I know you shared with us some photos, Konstantin, that you say are from your time fighting in Ukraine. And, you know, we've heard, you talk about them being hungry. We hear about Russian soldiers not having enough food. That happened to you. You took a picture of this rabbit that you had to hunt for food while you were there, and then you boiled it in a bucket to eat, and you sent us that photo as well. What is morale like right now for the troops? I know you're describing it as dire.
Everyone, or nearly everyone, who's there understands that what's happening is wrong, that is all very wrong, and they truly do not believe Putin's fables about Ukraine's threat of invasion. And I'd like to say that the very fact that they're in trenches was just caused by their living situation. For many of them, their military service is their means of living, and basically they only have one choice. It's either their family and children end up on the streets, or they have to be in the trenches. And now, after the mobilization, many of them, in general, after the mobilization, they cannot even resign. Otherwise, they'll be sent to prison for 7-10 years. So basically, there is no choice. They either have to remain there or find ways to flee. So, like I've already said, the circumstances are dire.
You know, obviously, some of what has happened on the ground, you know, we know about horrific war crimes committed by Russian forces across the entire spate of this war. You shared a video or photo with us in front of a building in Ukraine where you say that Ukrainian prisoners were tortured. What did you see happen?
I personally saw how the deputy commander of the unit, whose name is Shapaga, tortured and threatened with sexual violence prisoners of war from the 36th Navy Division.
Were there others, Konstantin, who had issues with this? Because obviously many soldiers were participating and going along.
I cannot say that anyone would have dared to say anything to this colonel in any way or could have showed their disapproval or anything, because just like he shot that Ukrainian prisoner of war, he could have easily shot me or anyone else who said that they didn't agree with this. Besides, he was drunk nonstop and he was driving around the nearby villages where there were other prisoners of war. As far as I know, there were about 20 others, Ukrainian prisoners of war. But I myself was a witness of interrogations of 3 Ukrainian prisoners of war.
You tried to resign, Konstantin, from the army. You ended up being dismissed because you refused to return to Ukraine. And they sent you a document. You shared it with us. And let me just read part of it to our viewers. This serviceman refused to go to the territory of Ukraine to perform his service and combat mission. Thereby, Senior Lieutenant Yefremov Konstantin Vladimirovich committed a gross disciplinary offense expressed by his evasion from his duties of military service. Konstantin, you are now hoping to seek asylum in the United States. You have left Russia. Why do you think the United States should grant you asylum?
Я считаю, что США – это страна, где есть демократия.
I believe that the United States of America is the country of democracy where human rights are upheld. And I've already been in Mexico for a month, and over this period of time, I've been trying to seek appointment with the border guards, and unfortunately, so far my efforts have been in vain, and therefore I address mass media and human rights advocates to support me in seeking political asylum.
О том, что я прошу политическое убежище.
Konstantin, thank you so very much for your time.
Спасибо вам.